Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Wind Waker Unflooded, the 3D modeling fan art project where I am reimagining the Kingdom of Hyrule as it could have existed within the world and art style of the Legend of Zelda, the Wind Waker. Excuse me, I'm going to keep going. Today we are working on the Lanayru Promenade. Promenade? Tell me how you say it in the comments down below. But y'all know how this goes. We are reimagining Hyrule as it could have existed before the Great Flood, right in the prologue of The Wind Waker, after the events of the adult timeline of Ocarina of Time. Really excited to just keep moving on this project, and it's just like, it's getting close. And I'm definitely excited to keep, finding, what am I trying to say? Like, there's only so much room for landmarks, for major locations, right? The map is obviously, there's definitely a lot of room left to fill, but only so much of that can be filled by, here's a whole new town, right? Here's, a major geographic landmark. There's only so much room for that. And after a certain point, most of it is going to be all right, now we can definitely just keep filling in the gaps. And I know a lot of y'all have commented that you're like, I just want to see you, there's a lot of holes in the map. I just want to see you go ahead and fill those areas. And why I've waited is just because I feel aware that, there could still be maybe a major landmark in between those locations that I don't know about yet, that maybe I haven't decided on yet, right? And I feel aware of that, right? The creative process, I don't come up with this all at once, right? It's definitely, there's an evolutionary process of figuring it out, right, as time goes on. So yeah, that's why I've been hesitant, and I think that it would, stop me from being productive if I went ahead and made a complete terrain map, right, and then added locations. No, I think it's a good thing to make the major points of interest, right, and then add in the terrain that kind of fills in the gaps in between those, because the point of interest may require different changes to the terrain, right, that. So it's just I feel aware of that, and so that's why I've been hesitant to just quote unquote just keep filling in the gaps, right. But there will definitely be a point coming soon on this project where it's okay, there's not really much room for any major landmarks from here on out. It's let's fill in the gaps with the terrain, and then let's just keep working on the details, right? Let's keep adding in little minor details throughout the map and populate the world with new environmental details and structures and continue to do that. So I think that's kind of the course we're on for the project, is that, yeah, it's, I'll keep kind of creating the major points of interest, then I'll fill in the terrain, and then we'll keep populating it with more details. And so, yeah, I think that's definitely the route that we're on. And yeah, today it was just I wasn't sure if I would have room for this in the map, but yeah, I kind of found a spot that seems consistent enough, kind of, with its Breath of the Wild placement. And that is the tough part, just as I reinterpret maps, sometimes I have to make decisions about okay, if you're directly comparing this with the map of Breath of the Wild, for instance, yeah, there may be some differences. There may be some things where it's oh, this doesn't quite line up in a satisfying way, but it's close. And that's just the thing about Hyrule, is just trying to incorporate all of these ideas from different games and smooth it over and have it line up with the C chart from The Wind Waker. It's definitely a technical and creative challenge, and it's definitely one that's I think is impossible to fulfill in a completely satisfying way. And I've talked before about that on the channel. It's just there will be contradictions because the games contradict each other, right? So of course my map is going to have some things that don't line up with every game, because the games don't line up with every game, right? So that's just natural, and that's how Hyrule works, right? Just with its map, that's how it works. But I am excited now because the Lanayru Promenade, I always thought that was just kind of a striking location, this kind of river side kind of walkway. And yeah, just it's something where you feel you're in the ruins of this older civilization, because Breath of the Wild, it has ruins throughout the map, but I always felt it was relatively sparse with ruins, right? Your major impression that you're left with is, oh, this is a natural world that I get to explore, and I think that's really well handled. Right, and there are some major ruins, of course, here and there, but I felt it's the areas that you come to where you go, oh, this was a great structure that is now lost to time. So the Lanayru Promenade, I thought was always a striking area, because you kind of were left with that impression. You could kind of imagine, oh, what was this like when it was just a little more built up? And I kind of want to find a middle ground. So as I'm modeling it, right, for my project, I'm like, okay, well, I don't want there to necessarily be like cracks in the road. Like I want it to be traversable, but I do want the stone to be old and moss covered and right. Like I want you to still have that impression of like, okay, like, you know, this is still like an older set of, you know, stonework, right? Yeah, where like it's kind of been grown over to a certain extent, right? And maybe there's things that it was connected to that like this road is all that's left right now, and there will be some other kind of rubble, right, in the water itself. That's definitely still part of my framework, but I don't want it to be like full of like these cracks that are right that are just uncrossable in the road. I want the road to still be traversable. That was at least kind of my middle ground decision, right? Because it's just like I want to show that just like with my version of the world of Hyrule, I want to really lean into like this kind of gilded age idea of like everything is good on the surface, everything is prosperous and put together, and right, like it's not crumbling apart yet. The crumbling is on the inside but not the outside. If you look at the world, there's all these things that have been built up and these impressive megastructures, right, that are clean and polished and right, like that are impressive. And I want that to be something that stands, that works. Right, but the ruin is on the inside. The ruin is human, right? The ruin is corruption, right? It's like that's where the rubble is, right? That's kind of the way I want to treat the story, is like this is a prosperous world, but why does it fall so easily? Why, when Ganon returns, is flooding the only option? Because it was already fallen, because it was already corrupt, so that when Ganon returned, right, he didn't really all have to do that much, because Hyrule had already fallen, right? In the wake of Ocarina of Time's ending, I think there would have been definitely some fear of, well, what do we do if this happens again? We don't want history to repeat itself, right? I definitely think that is, I think that would be part of the fears. I think that fear may even, right, like that it may lead to insecurities that don't even need to be there, right? Etc. You can imagine the stories, and I definitely want to flesh this all out. I definitely want to do some like cutscene style animated short films taking place in the map when this is all done. I've started to write those scripts, and I'm really excited to keep moving forward on that because I want to tell that story of how does the kingdom fall, right? How do things get so bad that when Ganon returns, a flood is inevitable, right? And the sins lie with Ganondorf, but they also lie with the king, right? And I think about what we see of the king in the Wind Waker, right? Daphne's no Hands in Hyrule, and he reflects on his own mistakes and how he clung to tradition but to a fault, right? And how his longing for a world that could not be protected, right? That was already doomed, right? By clinging onto it, you know, that he was the same as Ganondorf and clinging to the past. And so I definitely I want to lean into this idea that like this unnecessary clinging to old traditions is part of what ruins Hyrule. That is all part of the storytelling that I want to definitely lean on as well. But yeah, like I guess I'm really excited, and keep commenting down below if there's other locations like the Lanayru Promenade that I can add in from other games, ideas that you have for new locations that you think would benefit the world and the storytelling. Because yeah, I definitely want to show through environmental storytelling that I have my own concept for the world and right, and its politics, right, and how that is manifested through its architecture. Like it's all connected, right? It's all connected. Like I'm not just making the world and that's separate from storytelling. No, like world building, even in this framework where I'm like the model itself, even without a script, that's still kind of a narrative form in a way, right? Is that I'm still kind of shaping a world that is shaped by its own history that I have to be conscious of, right? You know, because I couldn't make the world without being aware of that, right? I have to make decisions about the politics and the history and how religion impacts the world and all these different ideas, right? And culture is definitely very important to me, and I definitely want to keep adding areas of cultural interest as well, and ways for, okay, let's show how villagers can express themselves, and let's see their traditions individually, not just the kingdom as a whole and its history and its traditions, but what do individuals do, right? How do they what holidays do they have, and how can maybe we see evidence of that throughout the map. And I definitely want to lean into those kinds of ideas as well. And so comment down below if you have any ideas for that, just how we can continue to show, right, culture in Hyrule. And I think that that'll be something that, to a certain degree, we have to kind of invent, right? I try to be, quote-unquote, as accurate as I can be to the spirit of the games and what's been established. But there is a point where I also have to make creative decisions and invent new things. And I think that's part of the fun of this project as well, is that Wind Waker Unflooded requires pure creativity, not just pulling from the games, but being wholly creative in a new way. And so, yeah, definitely comment down below if y'all have any ideas about any of that. I treasure y'all's feedback and ideas, and I try to implement it into the map as much as I can, right? As long as things don't contradict each other or contradict my ideas as well, right? So I definitely try to fit everything I can in. And I'm pretty sure that the Lanayru Promenade was also a suggestion left by a commenter. I'm pretty sure. So just, yeah, thank you to everyone who leaves suggestions and comments, because that definitely impacts the work that I do on this project. So I don't know, yeah. I definitely care about that. And, it's not just me at the helm. I definitely care what y'all think. Whether I'm always able to implement your feedback or not, I definitely care about it. So I want y'all to hear that. But yeah, I mean, we're reaching the end of this video. I think I've yapped about everything I need to, but also comment down below if you have any questions for me or things that you want to hear me talk about in the next video. So yeah, I really appreciate y'all being along for the ride. Let's take a look at the progress so far, and yeah, without further ado, thank you all so much for watching. Comment down below what you want to see me work on next, and yeah, without further ado, I'll let you go.
Now, if you're looking for other ways to support me, as always, you can support me as a creator by becoming a member on Patreon. There you'll get access to all kinds of exclusive behind-the-scenes content like in-progress outlines, scripts, storyboards, rough cuts, and even soundtracks for my newest films. By becoming a member, you'll also be thanked in the credits for any film I finish during your membership. You can also support me by streaming my music. I compose all of the scores for my own short films, and you can listen to those soundtracks on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you listen to music. Just look up Joe Kendrick. That's JoeKendrick. Y'all have a wonderful day, and without further ado, I'll let you go.